He said, following the 12th of May mayoral and the chairmanship elections in the Gambia, the National Executive Committee decided to call this press conference. First of all, we want to thank all our APRC supporters and the sympathizers for their commitment, loyalty, and dedication to the cause of the party. Those members who are in areas where we don't have candidates, we want to thank them too. Despite the various challenges and hurdles, you wave through these challenges with discipline. This indeed has made us proud as leaders, and we want to hail you and salute you for that, and also want to encourage you to be as disciplined as possible, to recommit yourselves to the cause of this great party, and then also with discipline, politeness, canvass Gambians, disseminate the manifesto, the ideals, the noble ideals of this party to the Gambian electorate. So to you all, at various levels, our youths, our women, our elders, all of you, everybody has done his part, and we appreciate it. And in fact, it has indicated that indications are that we have moved from one step to another step. Now, we all know that the IEC is mandated to conduct elections in this country according to law, not according to the whims and caprices of IEC officials. And we are also aware that the state and its machinery are responsible for the protection of life and property. These are fundamental issues in an electoral process. Now, when we recall, before I come to the main issues, since January of 2017, when the former president, His Excellency Sir Professor Alhaji Dr. Yaya AJJ Jammeh, left the shores of this country, the government of the Gambia, which is a coalition government, under His Excellency President Adama Barrow, took over the reins of power in this country. We know that the 2016 presidential elections, we had two results. Everybody is aware of that. Where we don't have, there is no cause for the IEC to be pushed into delivering or giving results or incomplete results. They should make sure that whatever, at the end of the day, whatever they come out with is the final and conclusive. Because elections can create problems, can bring in instability. We witnessed that, and that almost led this country into turmoil. We also witnessed the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission in a GRTS broadcast said himself that he is happy that the APRC is gone. An electoral chief who is supposed to be independent is making those public announcements against a political party. Two, even in the last local government councillor elections, he declared APRC to have 18 seats, only to come back again and say 16 seats. Let's not forget, this is an independent body. 3, we are aware that we put up a candidate who got nominated in Basse during these chairmanship elections. The GDC and one boy de Balde petitioned the IEC that our candidate is not qualified to contest for the elections. Reasons adduced were that he was a convict, that he was taken to court and he was fined. Now, altogether $5,000. Now, the electoral law, I said the IEC is to conduct elections according to law, without bias. One fundamental thing about the mishap is that the electoral law states that for people to make objections on nominated candidates, it has to be done on the day between 11 o'clock and then in the forenoon to 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the day of nominations. And it went further to state that there is room for those errors or whatever left out can be corrected before 5 p.m. of the day of that nomination. Now, we are all aware that the IEC stated to us that they were not looking at the GDC petition because the GDC categorically addressed it to the chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission. And the law states that it should be addressed to the presiding officer of the region. Because of that, they said they are not looking at that. They are looking at Boulder Balde. And Boulder Balde's own is addressed to the Independent Electoral Commission. Now, even if it is true, the fact that these two people, we got nominated on the 23rd of May, and their petitions were written on the 25th of May, that in itself alone is wrong, and the law does not accept it. 2, the other point is, for our candidate, the law provides in the Local Government Act and has given reasons for those to be disqualified: unsound mind, sentenced to death. The critical point is, the other point is imprisonment. Imprisonment that relates to fraud, dishonesty, and violence. Imprisonment. I'm quoting the law. The third point is conviction. Conviction as it relates to electoral processes. Conviction means if you are fined or you are sentenced to serve a term in prison, they are all convictions. So what it states is, for people who are convicted for electoral malpractices, yes, whether you are fined or you are sentenced to a term of imprisonment, you are disqualified. But it says imprisonment for fraud, violence, or these things. We highlighted all these things to the IEC. The law provides that when you want to challenge, you appeal to the IEC chairman and the commission. We appeal to the IEC. They came back with the same verdict, that they are not accepting it. And the law states the decision of the IEC cannot be challenged in court. So, in the absence of a credible independent body, people can govern elections in this country the way they like, as we see the IEC to be doing. Nonetheless, we have gone to court to have a stay of elections, to put an injunction for stay of elections in URR. And the judge said there is no law she can rely on to put a stay of elections. Fine. The other bit is still in court, and I think the hearing comes on Friday. We are trying to go by law to challenge these things, not because of APRC, but to avoid a recurrence for all other political parties. Now, we have seen that. Again, come these elections, we know that APRC has gained grounds. I'll give you reasons why I'm saying this. For us, we contested in West Coast region, KMC and Banjul. And if you look at the West Coast region alone and KMC, we have scored over 40,000 votes. Compared to the previous elections, we have gained more votes than we had ever had. And remember, also, despite the fact that the independent candidate that contested in West Coast region and in KMC, we are former mayors of APRC, former deputy mayors, and even former councillors of APRC, who, if you observe it, for many reasons, some tribal, some neighborliness, have taken up APRC votes in these elections. But that notwithstanding, we are still able to do better. Even the West Coast independent candidate, if you remember, applied on the APRC. He was an APRC councillor. He applied for the chairmanship, and when he was not taken, he went independent. If you look at UDP in KMC, they scored about 35% of the votes. When in the local government councillor elections, they scored 52% of the vote cast. They've come down. Whereas the APRC, we got 16? How much percent in the KMC? 16.7% of the votes. Previously, we had 16 point.
Yeah, that's about 15.8.
Yes.
15.9.
We have risen, despite all the independent candidates, most of them being APRC. When the party that won the seat had 35% of the votes cast. When we now go to the issue of the crisis that happened, I'm coming to our observations. If you remember, on the day of elections itself, just before Maghrib, the executive members and some supporters were in my family compound in Talindi. In Talindi, getting results from agents around KMC, West Coast region, and Banjul. Just at that moment, the UDP groups came to my compound gate, stood there in their large numbers whilst we were in the compound. I asked the spokesperson to alert the security. The security came there. We insisted that to avoid a clash, there is need for them to disperse. Staying at our compound gate is provocation. Despite that, the security could not or would not want to disperse them. We stayed in the compound. It came to a stage where they started stoning us in the compound. Broke vehicle screens that some of our vehicles that were parked outside, even inside the compound where we had my sister's vehicle. The back screen and everything all were broken. What was surprising to us is that the police came up to the gate, our gate, to throw tear gas whilst we were in the compound. The UDP people who were outside there, who came to provoke us, we are left there for hours and hours on end. And that's the new Gambia, the new democracy, the new rule of law that they are claiming. It did not end up there. Yesterday, we came to the compound. We are supposed to have a small meeting with some of our supporters. Again, the UDP came. The same incident happened. Then I told Honorable Guy, the spokesperson, to inform the police command outside that we are leaving the compound and go to the mayor's compound, which is off the road. And he came back and told me, yes, we can now go. Just on coming out, when I came out, a few, 3-4 steps from the gate, they started tear gassing us again. Mayor was seriously affected. Myself, I was affected. But nonetheless, we moved to the mayor's place. Whilst we were at the mayor's place, the police were struggling with them that they were coming there also. Unfortunately, I listened to the audio interview of lawyer Usainu Dabo, who is the leader of the United Democratic Party. I got very much disappointed. He said, UDP have won and they have a right to celebrate. That APRC used to celebrate. And that he will hold me responsible for the attack on the UDP. A lawyer by profession who knows the law, a leader of a political party in the Gambia, I believe it is our responsibility to ensure that we keep discipline and order. When API have contested elections in Serekunda East for 4 terms and have won, Lord Mayor has contested 3 times and has won. Never, never have we moved. We don't even know where our opponents live. President Jammeh has won elections 4 times. We don't even know where lawyer Ousainou Darboe lives. We have not gone to any person's place. When we celebrate in the street or move to the McCarthy Square or wherever. Just this last councillorship elections, we won in Talinding South. The candidate came to the Bantaba with the UDP candidate who lost, and others, parties. They were all celebrating and they all spoke to ensure that there is peace and stability. They all came to my compound. Leaders have to be honest and be dictated by their conscience. If lawyer Ousainou Darboe goes to say that he blames the APRC because we don't want them to celebrate, I have a right to be in my family compound. I decided to leave that place with those people to go away from it in the name of peace. If he does not cherish that, and he thinks otherwise, let him rethink. I have said this. It is the responsibility of the state and its machinery to protect life and liberty of all those resident in the Gambia. In the absence of that protection, we reserve the right for self-defense and where necessary, maximum retaliation. That has to be made clear. We, over the past 1.5 years, we had had a lot of challenges that would warrant us to be in the streets. But in the name of peace, we restrained our people. Some of them even are not happy with us. We don't believe in violence. If there is violence, may God forbid, it means we are working on the very good things we have done in this country. We rather believe in dialogue, rule of law, and all these things. But to say that they have a right to celebrate, if they have a right to celebrate, let them go to Ousainou. We have nothing to do with that. Let them go on the streets and go, or go to Bantabas, or go to Google, wherever they want to go. But they don't have a right to come to my family compound to be stationed there, provoking us, stoning us, and you still call the APRC telling us that we don't want them to celebrate. As regards whether the elections are free, fair, and credible, we are still on investigations with our agents, the executive and our agents. We are looking at some other things, and when we are ready, we will make a pronouncement on that. But what we want to show you, the press, some of the concerns we have. Counting is done on the spot. And when it is counted, it's entered on result slips. For all polling agents to certify, look at the results that they have counted. Is that what they have on the result slip? And they all certify and sign. And the presiding officer signs. And each of the agents is given a result slip. Where a presiding officer asks all the agents to sign a result slip before the counting of the results. And then he himself signs and keeps the result slip to himself. All signed by the presiding officer and their various listings. Empty seat. He held them all by himself. Counting is not done yet. What would you go to enter on this result slip? Look at it. We were able, through the smartness of some of our agents, able to snatch one from them. And we held it. In this particular instance, at the close of elections, you enter whatever you want to enter. And it's certified by the agents. They don't know. So this and many other things are under investigations. And when we conclude our investigations, we will make a pronouncement on the fairness and credibility of these mayoral and chairmanship elections. In conclusion, I have enumerated a lot of things that had happened, that the IEC leadership had done against this party in this circumstance, in the interest of free, fair, and credible elections, and the peace and stability of the Gambia. We ask the IEC chairman to resign. He's biased, he has a political position, he is anti-APRC, and probably some other. You cannot be. In the circumstances, you are not qualified. And elections, mostly around the world, can create a lot of instability in a country where there is no credibility. And in the circumstances, in his own name, in the interest of the Gambia, and to ensure that we have free, fair, and credible elections, and a stable country, it is honorable to resign his position and go into politics or go and join any political party of his choice. As the spokesperson said, we will invite questions on all issues that you may want to ask. We are not going to limit it to the mayoral elections. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions that you think people need to know, or you want to sound on opinions on. You are free to do so. I thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, party leader. I also listened to Honorable Usainu Dabo, and I think Gambians should hold him accountable and responsible for what happened yesterday and the day before yesterday, and the APRC will take up the issue, because the question Dabo should have asked himself is, Babakato Mongjara, the leader of the APRC, his compound, is that the house of lawyer Dabo or the house of Ahmed Talib Bensouda? For 22 years and for 20 years APRC in power, we've never gone to celebrate at lawyer Dabo's house. In itself, as the party leader said, is provocations and it's incitement, and they want the country to descend into chaos. So therefore, lawyer Dabo, who have no control over his people and his party, they should be held responsible for whatever happened. And the APRC will never accept this, will never condone this, and we will do whatever it takes to ensure that justice is done. This is utter nonsense, and it's provocations, and the intention is very clear. They move from their houses, instead of going to Lawyer Dabo's house, or Taliban to the house, who they claim to have win, they say, let's go to Fabakato Manjara's compound. That's provocations. And the security forces can be, in fact, they are accomplice to it. So we will now invite questions.
No, before you invite questions. As regards the security, yes, I forgot that bit. The security command in KMC, we are most disappointed. we are most disappointed. All these things happened during their presence. And I had cause to talk with the commissioner in the house. 2, when we had taken permission to go, so that there will be no crisis, I think they should be happy. We going, the people there, you leaving them and you putting tear gas on us, targeting us, the leaders. I must conclude by saying that I spoke to the Inspector General, to the Interior Minister on the issue. And he rightly said that coming to that place and standing there is provocation. We challenge that, we hail that, we see that as justice, the truth. More so, in my compound, I can stay there, let there be fire or whatever. Nobody will blame me for not staying in my compound. But in the name of peace, we ask our people, after taking permission from them, to move to another compound, off the road. The best they could do is to throw tear gas on us. And lawyer Usainu Dabo, a political leader, a lawyer, a cabinet minister for that matter, who had been in the opposition for 20 years, is saying that he is holding the APRC responsible, that we don't want those people to celebrate. How? Or we don't allow them to come and celebrate in my compound. That is true. Because we have never celebrated in his compound. We don't even know where he lives. I want to state this. So definitely we are the national executive level, and me in particular, I am grossly disappointed with the command of, with the security command in KMC.
Thank you very much. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to invite questions. One question from the house until maybe probably we cover everybody. So, anybody?
I want to ask one.
Yeah, I suggest that we state our names and also the media house. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I am Mustafa Dabo. I write for the Turkish media and also Kelfar. My question is related to the incident at Talinding. I was there and I follow a number of elections where similar thing happened. And in my experience, Talinding has been a battleground, or more or less, between APRs and UDP since 1996. I mean, in one incident, it has cost you your compound and someone else's life. So, shouldn't APRC and UDP sit down as leaders of political institutions and say this is enough? I mean, in leading their own people to a settlement after election, because this happens every year for over 22 years now.
I'm happy you said that. Yes, in 2001, my family compound was burned to ashes by the UDP. My brother was in the compound. All of us had left for a meeting. And the people came with gallons of petrol, entered his own house, and told him, we will slaughter you all. He knows them, they live next door to us. The boy, they poured petrol and lit the place. Then I was MP, APRC was in government, and I have been a lead member of that party. People got arrested. I went around the various police stations with my brothers who were in the compound. And anybody they could not identify, I asked the police to release it. Those who were identified, we left them. 2 weeks later, they were granted bail. To date, Who has ever had a court case on that? One. My late mother was on my head. I'm a lead member of the party. My compound got burnt and nothing is happening. I said to her, Ma, we will get the compound repaired. But even if these people are imprisoned, or I use my leverage, that's my position, which I don't believe, it will not bring back the compound to normality. The people, everybody has a responsibility. Leave the security and those responsible to deal with them according to law. I was harassed. But I challenge any Gambian security officer or senior officer whether I, Fabakary, had ever gone to him. And what happened to those people who burnt my compound? That's what we expect of leadership. I don't use these things. Two, I have told you that when we won in these local government elections, we've invited the opponent, UDP, and everybody. They all came to the Bantaba. We gave them mic to celebrate that we don't want violence. We are all family members. We are people staying together. Everybody shouted, no insults. I mean, I think that's the best. You know, the belief is, I will tell you the belief is, telling them they believe that people like us are the pioneers of APRC. Two, some of them believe I am Fabakary, I'm from Newby originally. I am Mandinka. But my conscience does not tell me strike. My conscience tells me I'm a human being, an African for that matter, and a Gambian. And I join any group that I believe would provide services to the Gambia. And I would respect yours. Bakote. We were on our rally. Our opponent, the UDP candidate, came there. We held him, we did everything there. We even gave his people the mic to speak. Would you imagine an APRC opponent going to a UDP meeting? So for us, even when we were in government, look, I was in government, my friend. I could have fought hard to get some people, whether innocent or right, to get them victimized. But I don't even speak about it. And I will say this, not one dime was given to me by the APRC or any other group. So what we expect of leaders is to ensure and make sure that they don't put their personal interests above the interests of the people they want to lead. And two, whether you support me or you don't support me, you are a Gambian. I have been telling them, go and do a scout. None of them. I was the majority leader, a lead member of the district. He was mayor of KMC. We all live in Talinding. We know who is who. But we provided all of them with our services, irrespective of political affiliation. What else do they want us to do? It's just the mindset. And you know, no amount of intimidation, frustration, whatever, would make us change our opinion. Our opinion will only change if we feel that where we are, it is wrong, we reserve the right to change. But to us, this great party, so far, and I pray until I die, will be my party. Nobody changes that. That's what I believe. We are not aspiring for leadership. We are not aspiring to be president here. We can be, somebody else can be, the party can come back. All what we know is we owe people the responsibility, the duty